Right, so today I've started work on the bodywork of the van. The interior is pretty much all complete now, so one of the main remaining jobs now is to start taking care of the rust on the outside of the bodywork. Now I'm going to be doing a colour change on the van. I'm probably going to be doing it black, the same as I've already painted the high top. So there's a number of rust issues, nothing major, but just the general stuff for a 20-year-old van that you'd expect to see. A little bit of rust along the sill work, around the arches, but they're not rotted through. It's just going to be more surface rust, so this is all going to be getting ground back with a flap disc, and it's going to be getting treated with a rust treater and then sealed up. Now the bodywork did have a few scratches on it. That's probably the main one here, just behind the sliding door. So I've pretty much done most of the side of the van now and the bonnet with the polisher with the 400 grit sandpaper on. I'm just getting down to the more awkward bits now, where I'm going to have to get the grind and the flap disc out, like for along the bottom of the arch, the sills, around the arches, just areas where that size disc is just too big. So I've got a brand new flap disc there for the grinder. Flap discs are good because they'll only take the surface material off, they won't cut straight into the metal like a normal grinding disc will. So I'm now going to crack on with the arches, start with the arches and then run along the bottom of the sills with the flap disc and see what the metal works like when I start taking the top surfaces off. So I'm going to crack on and see what it looks like by the end of today. I probably won't get around to painting it today, this is just going to be more of a prep day, so I'll see what it looks like by the time I'm finished. So that's the first front arch pretty much all ground down now. It's not in bad condition really. The vast majority of it's still got nice solid metal. It's just a little bit of surface rust that's had to be ground back. So I'll treat that with some Hammerite Kurust. The only place where there was any sort of hole was just there. There's a little hole just poking through there. So I'm going to get some filler into that, filler it in, sand it down. But other than that, again, the rest of the arch is all nice and solid going all the way along. So that's all going to get fully treated, just to be sure that there's not going to be any rust coming through in the future. I'm going to get some filler and fill that little hole in there, and then the entire arch will get some Hammerite Kurust applied, then it'll be ready for some primer and some paint. Right, so that's the front arch now rust treated and primered. I've filled the hole in just beneath the arch there where there was a little hole just in the metalwork. It was nothing too major, so I've used some fiberglass filler for that, just to be sure it's going to be nice and strong. So all of the paintwork's been stripped back along all the way on the arch, all the way into the corner, all the way along the bottom beneath the front door as well. Anywhere where I saw any signs of any rust starting to break through on the paintwork, that's been stripped back and it's been treated with the Hammerite Kurust and it's been given a coat of primer. Same all the way around the fuel flap as well. That was pretty much fully coated with surface rust on the front, so that's been fully stripped back again. It's been treated with the Hammerite Kurust and primer, and anywhere else where I saw just signs of just little bits of rust breaking through the paintwork, I've just taken it straight back to bare metal, and again it's all just been treated with the same type of stuff. So now that's all been treated and primered, today I've cracked on with the rear arch. I haven't treated this yet, this has just been stripped back to the bare metal. As you can see, it's good bare metal, there's no holes in this one at all. It looks as though it's been caught in time. There is a little bits of pitting, but the Kurust will kill off any rust that might still be within there. I've taken it back to as much bare metal as possible using the flap disc. I just don't want to go any deeper into it, just in case it does start actually cutting into the metalwork. So that's now ready to be treated. I've also taken back anywhere that had any scratches that had broken the paintwork. All the way along there was a small scratch, and on the main panel there that was a scratch as well. I did just briefly treat this before, that's why it looks a total mess at the moment, but again it's all going to be getting fully painted over anyway, so I'm not fussed about that at all. So now this is going to get a treatment with the Kurust all the way along the bottom of the sill as well. That's all been treated. I'd already done the sill behind the sliding door when I was doing a rust repair on the step, but on the actual door itself that's all been ground back just along the bottom lip as well, just to take off any signs of any rust anywhere where on the bodywork where I saw some as well. I said just areas like that where it was coming over the arch. It's all been ground back and it's all just about to be treated with Kurust, and I'll give it a primer and then that'll be ready for painting when I get round to painting. Right, so that's the stuff I'm going to be using just to kill off the rust. You always want to empty it into a separate container because you don't want to be contaminating this with the brush that you're painting onto any metalwork. So now I've emptied some into the container, I'm just going to get the brush out and start giving it a liberal coating across anywhere where I've ground back. Right, so that's all the areas that were exposed, completely treated with the Hammerite Kurust. Anywhere where there was good bare metal work and there wasn't any rust present, it will generally stay silver. If there was any signs of any encroaching rust at all, it should turn a bluey black colour, as most of this is now. So now I just need to leave all this for the next 3 hours to dry, to cure, and then it'll be okay to paint over. Now it'll still look a mess because it's only going to have primer put over it just to protect the bare metal work, just until it's ready for the proper paint. But this is just trying to get rid of any rust that's on the bodywork, just to try and future-proof the van for as long as possible. So now all of these areas, all the scratches, all of the arch, all the way along the bottom of the door, they've all been treated now. So now it's just a waiting game, and I'll be able to prime it in a few hours. Right, so it's another day working on the bodywork. The passenger side is pretty much all done now in regards to rust removal. It looks an absolute mess, I will fully admit that at the moment, but that's because at the moment it's just had rust treatment and then coats of primers and paints on top of that just to protect the metalwork. So at the moment it looks an absolute shambles, but I'm not fussed about this because it's all going to be getting painted black, so that's going to cover over everything. So now I've just started on the driver's side. I haven't done the back doors yet, they're going to be getting done last. I've just ground down the rear driver's arch. Again, it's in good condition. There was just little bits of surface pitting rust, so that's been ground back to bare metal going all the way around. So again, I'm just going to rust proof treat that, along with anywhere else along the bodywork where I've seen any signs of any rust encroaching through the paintwork. So as you can see, there's lots of little just spots and drabs going around the bodywork where I've seen little signs of rust starting to break through. I've been using the flat disc, and I've also just got a little dremel just to get into the more awkward to reach places. The front arch is going to need a bit more work on it, but at the moment I've just been concentrating on the main bodywork going back and the rear arch. So I'm just about to apply some Hammerite Kurust to all of these areas that have been ground back to bare metal. Then I will apply another coat of just either primer or paint on top of that just to protect the paintwork until it's ready to be properly painted. So that's this side of the body pretty much all done. As I say, the rear arch, that's all done. That's just ready to be rust treated and painted, along with all of the other spots that I've seen any signs of any rust breaking through the paintwork. So I'm going to go and get some Hammerite Kurust, get that liberally applied to anywhere where I've ground back, and then it'll be okay to get some primer on top. Right, so that's the Hammerite Kurust applied to the driver's side of anywhere that I've ground back to bare metal. So now I just need to leave the Hammerite Kurust to dry up for the next couple of hours, and then it's going to be okay to paint over with primer. So I said that's everywhere where I broke through the metal, anywhere where there was any signs of any rust breaking through. So all of these little spots and scabs, you can see there was slight signs of rust coming through. So just to be safer than sure, I've cut everything back, including the arch, and as I say, it's all been rust treated now, just to prove rust proof the van for many more years to come. So now we just need to wait a few hours for this to dry and cure, and it'll be okay to slap some more paint over and get the driver's side looking as much of a mess as the passenger side. Right, so continuing with the body prep, just while the driver's side is curing with the Hammerite Kurust, I thought I'd try and take care of some of the rust spots that are just in between the high top and the main body. As you can see, there's just a few spots going in where you just can't really get in with a normal flat disc and grinder. So I've managed to get hold of a dremel, just with some nice fine grinding tips on them. So I've just started grinding some off, as you can see there. So I'm going to be working my way down anywhere where I see any sort of brown rust spots like that. I'm going to be taking those back to bare metal and giving those a bare treatment as well. Once I've gone all the way along the rail, I might even run another bead of sealant just underneath, just a chunky bead of Sikaflex, and then it'll all get painted again over that as well. So I'm going to crack on with the Dremel, get rid of all the small tiny little rust spots like those that you just can't get into normally, and then the bodywork will be nearing completion. Right, so that's every single little bit of rust that I could see anywhere in between the high top and the body, all ground back with the Dremel. It's taken a couple of different bits just to get into all the different nooks and crannies, because as you can see, some of them go right up against the actual seal itself. So just getting in there with a bit is quite awkward, especially without actually cutting into the seal. So that's the good thing about the Dremels, you've just got loads of different attachments so you can get in where it's a bit awkward with any other tools. So I've been all the way along and ground back every single bit that I could see. So that's now again the passenger side done. In regards to the high top where it meets the body, I've already done the rest of the body work, that's why it looks a mess on this side. But now again I'm just going to rust treat these, and then that's going to be ready for primer. There was a little bit there on the high top as well, so I've ground back because that was starting to bubble through. So that bit there is actually metal, part of the high top, so that's been done as well. And then I'm going to start on the windscreen. Right, so I'm getting closer to being able to start painting the van. I've already been round it with like a buffer type, polisher type thing down there, giving it a good key over all of the paint work. I've just done some filler work where there was a couple of slight bevels in the bodywork. I'm just waiting for this to dry off, and then that'll be getting sanded off as well. So I've already had a pretty good key going around the van, but now I've got all the windscreen, the mirrors off, a lot of the trim off the back as well, license plate, the cover along there. So now it's just I'm going to be giving it just another quick buff over with the polisher with 120 grit paper, just to be sure that the top surface of all the old paint is removed, ready to be painted with the new Rust-Oleum paint. So I'm going to crack on, get all the way around the van with the sander, and I'll be ready to start roll the painting.